Hello, this is a demo of a TypeScript 101 type project compilation. So TypeScript is basically just a typed version of JavaScript. So this is a great way to get into some of the basics of TypeScript and the differences there, and to pick up a typed language. So for this project, I completed 4 sub-projects to work on different principles and elements of the TypeScript, and I'll demo each of those. I have, of course, the basic hello world. We have a drawing app, a joke fetcher that uses async functions, and then a Fibonacci function that's recursive. I also use tslint for a stretch goal, and I actually ended up using TypeScript ESLint because tslint is actually deprecated. Um, as you can see, my README is all set up. I have most of the links I was using to get information about some of the basics as well as specific things for each of the smaller projects and a few small ideas of things that I could do to improve it. So let's go ahead and get into the demos. So the first one I'll demo, we'll just do the hello world, and looking at the code, it's pretty easy to understand. It's pretty close to JavaScript if you're familiar with that. The big difference here is, of course, the types. So that's the main difference. It's just forcing the message to be a string. So if you tried to reassign a message to something that wasn't a string, it would throw an error for you. And then you have to run the TypeScript through a compiler to get it to convert to JavaScript, which can be run, and it looks pretty similar, just minus the types. Again, this is pretty basic example, so we'll go ahead and run this. I added scripts to my package.json. So I can just do some simple commands to get those running. And like you see, all it does is console log hello world. So that was the first basic one. We'll go ahead and take a look at the Fibonacci project. So this one is a recursive function, meaning it calls itself. And all we're doing is calculating a certain amount of Fibonacci numbers. So the default, oh, this is the JavaScript. The default, we can pass in how many Fibonacci numbers we want. It has to be a number, so we've assigned that type, and then I've also set the default to 10. And then we'll just log that amount of Fibonacci numbers. Again, the big difference between this and JavaScript is really the types, and there's a few other nuances. So go ahead and run this one. And we should get 10 Fibonacci numbers because we were using the default. And yep, those are the first 10 in the sequence, and we've printed them to the terminal. The next project that we can demo is the joke fetcher. So this one is using async and await functions, and we're also using fetch, which is built into Node as of I think Node 17. We've also have a custom joke type so that we can cast our API response to not an object, but basically a type. And all it is just saying like this is what it should look like. The question marks means they're optional properties. And we have some functions to separate out the logic to get the joke and to tell the joke. And then we tell the single joke as we combine that and we chain with the tell or the then and the catch to catch errors. And then I went ahead and I wanted to work with a list, so I've made a list of the joke types right here, and you can see it's an array, or a list as it's known in some other languages, an array of strings. So it's going to iterate through those, and it will tell us a joke for each type. So we'll go ahead and run this one. And we should get a handful of jokes and responses. You can see them showing in the terminal. We'll have like usually a delivery and then the punchline, and it's telling you what type of joke it is. Some of them it's just one-liners. This just uses the joke API, and you can see I've set up some timers in here to allow time for the person to actually read the setup before the delivery. And that's that. The last little app that I made as part of this project is a drawing app using HTML canvas. So you can see we just have a pretty basic HTML document here. We have a toolbar with a bunch of stuff that you'll see demoed, and then the HTML canvas. The code for this one, let me go ahead and make this terminal smaller, is using a drawing app class, and we instantiate that on the page load so that we're able to get the canvas element as well as the context for that. The context is what controls a lot of the drawing tools that we have access to. And then we just have a constructor here that sets the size of the canvas to match the window. We set some default properties, some class properties, and then we add event handlers, and that's all just in here. So let me go ahead and demo this one for you. So it's defaulted to black in a certain size, but you can just draw with this. You can change the colors as you wish. You can erase stuff. You can change the brush type so it has a little bit of a different feel to it. The default was pencil, so if you switch back, it's the same thing. You can also save it, and it just downloads a little image for you that you can open, and then you can reset it. Those are my TypeScript projects and the basic demos. There's some instructions included in my README, so that's a great reference to use for the future. Thanks.